Hey everyone, this is Christopher Donnell, and it is Monday morning, meaning it's time for Motivational Monday, and I'm here with my friends Melanie Anders and Christopher Dorsey. Melanie is the K-2 principal at Urbana Elementary, and Mr. Dorsey is the guidance counselor for K through 2.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Yep.
Got that. So we've been having a conversation recently and kind of around this room, really, where we're at, where it kind of started, is kind of how the community can start to get involved with standing in the gap, stepping in an area where maybe we could fill a hole, fill a need for students at Urbana Elementary. And, we're here to explain this room real quick where we're at.
It's a conference room, but don't tell our superintendent because it's kind of turning into a closet, as you can see. Yep. But we're trying to make it nice and neat. But it is a conference room.
So we got coats behind us and then the closet. What's going on with this coats and closet stuff?
Well, this closet is what we fill with shoes. For kids that need shoes. So right now, I don't know if you want me to show what's in the closet, but there are some really big men's shoes in there.
Right.
So we have a need for some smaller size shoes for our kids.
Yes. And the coats are the same deal when kids come and have inadequate clothing for wintertime.
Yep. And we're pretty well stocked on coats this year.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a need and sometimes it's not. This year we were pretty well stocked on that and ready for it.
So we've been having a conversation about shoes was kind of what started it, and then it's kind of we talked more about the Little Climber Club. But first, the shoes. Kids come and sometimes need a new pair of shoes and don't have the right pair of shoes, and so you said there's big sizes. And so, what are the sizes that you're looking for to fill that?
I think it's kid sizes like 1 through 12, probably more of the smaller sizes. And even, it's a little confusing, but there are sizes smaller than the 1 through 12. There's there's a 12 and a 13 that are like children's sizes. And those would be more like kindergarten, first grade age kids. We need those sizes. So more of the smaller.
Thinking kindergarten through third grade more than the bigger sizes.
Yeah, and that's what we see a lot of times. Those kids, I think they're harder on their shoes than a lot of other.
And they grow fast.
Yeah, and they grow fast. And so kids come in, their shoes are kind of dilapidated, their toes are hanging out, the soles are coming off of them, and we see that a lot. Or they're just too big. Or sometimes they'll wear shoes in that are too big for them. And then they can't really participate in gym well when they have shoes that are 3 and 4 sizes too big for them.
Or they'll wear sandals or flip flops in the winter. We get that a lot. Or they'll wear boots in the summer because that's all they've had all winter was boots. So we see that.
So you guys see a lot of different needs coming through these doors, don't you? So you've been teaching for a while, right?
Yeah. I taught for almost 20 years in kindergarten.
And then you've been...
and then I was a K-5 assistant principal for 3 years, and now I'm a principal. Yay!
Yeah. And you've been doing guidance counseling for...
10 years.
10 years.
9 years here, a year before that.
So you guys were telling me some funny stories. If you guys have been here so long, people have some age discrepancies about you. What were you telling me about the one guy who came in your office?
Oh, I had a student in my office last week who was eating lunch with me. He had gotten upset, and just during eating his meal, he asked me, he said, "Mr. Dorsey, how old are you?" And I just said, "Well, why don't you guess?" And he said, "I think you're about 25 years old." And I was like,
"That's awesome, right?"
Yeah. And I said, "But I'm really older." And he said, "How old?" And I said, "Well, I'm 56. And he got really quiet, and he just looked at me for a little bit, and then he said, "Mr. Dorsey, you're going to die." I wanted to respond to that, but I thought, no, I'm not going to. And he was quiet for a little while longer, and then he said, "Mr. Dorsey, I'm going to miss you." And I took that as, he really cared. It was genuine. That he would miss me if I was gone. So
even at the ripe old age of 56.
At the age of 56. So that was kind of... It keeps you humble.
Kids seem to think you're pretty young, too.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they like to look at your pictures. They like to make that connection. I have a lot of pictures in my office of my kids and my grandkids, so they'll come in and they'll see pictures of me with my 4 grandkids, and they'll say, hey, are those your kids? And I'll say, no, those are my grandkids. Or they'll look at the picture of me and my husband and they'll say, is that your dad? Is that you and your dad? So I always love to go home and tell those ones to my husband. Yeah, because
you're the young one in this story, right?
Yeah.
So it always works out in your favor.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so.
Well, yeah, so shoes have been a big part of filling this closet. And I think last year during the heat of the COVID pandemic, I think it was headphones and water bottles. Things that were like kind of one-time use when we were really trying to keep everybody safe with the crazy pandemic that we had going on. But this year, shoes, and then Little Climber Club. Talk about that and what that is and maybe some needs around that.
Okay. The Little Climber Club we started just to kind of help build confidence in kids and to also teach them some important character traits. So teachers nominate someone and then they nominate a friend to join them and they meet on Tuesdays. And so on Tuesdays we started a Dress for Success. Yeah. So we put the little bow ties or the ties on the boys and some pearls, or they'll dress up in a little button down. And so, the teachers have talked about how that just instantly makes them feel real important and stuff. Yeah. But the main thing that I think what we really would like to see and build from that is some kind of mentorship program. And I know we've been talking a lot about this, but I went to a conference last week and they talked a little bit about trauma kids. And one of the things they did a survey on thousands of kids, and the thing that came up the most was that they would like to have another. They wanted the adult connection with somebody, with one or two other adults other than their parents. Yeah. And one of the other things they talked about was the ability to be able to talk to their parents, and they like support from their friends. But that was one of the top three answers, was wanting that another adult in their life.
Yeah.
So,
and it kind of blows up the stereotype there that kids don't like adults and, vice versa. But really, and that is a natural need that we all have, that connection of, I see and I watch those who are older. As a little kid, you're like, I want to be older. I want to be older. I want to be like so-and-so. And if they don't have that, or if they have a traumatic experience with that, it's really awful situation.
Yeah.
You said you came and shared at our church on this past Sunday, but you said something that even my wife and I were talking about, that trauma never goes away.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really, it stays with somebody forever.
Yeah.
We've all had traumatic experiences, probably more so than people know. Myself, I've suffered through some different traumas in my lifetime, and it never goes away, but we have to help children and ourselves to work through it, to see that we can get past that trauma.
Some healthy coping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty powerful. And again, it's not to say, now you have this monkey on your back and you good luck carrying it the rest of your life. It almost is like calling it out, and it makes it easier to walk with. Would you agree with that? To recognize that, to say, it's not going to go away, so how do I deal with it?
I think one of the big things kids struggle with is they have a trauma like that, and then they kind of feel like they're the only ones that are dealing with that. And there's some of the trauma, there's shame that goes along with it. They don't want anyone to know. But if you can get them to bring it out and expose it to the light, and realize that, one, it wasn't their fault.
Right.
Two, they're not alone.
Right.
There are lots of other kids in this school that have been through similar circumstances. And I think, like you said, the trauma is still there, but it helps them heal from the experience.
That's good. Yeah, I think and I think you're right, Melanie. I think there are more people have experienced it than you realize. And so then to your point, if you could almost normalize it and say, hey, let's talk about this, let's bring it up, and you'll see that there's shared connections here, and we can help each other through this. And I think that's so important, which is what you're trying to do with the mentor program.
Right.
Healthy adults in their lives, teachers, even you as teachers and influencers, administrators are being that healthy role model,
right,
in spite of their traumatic experiences.
And kind of going back to what you were saying about kids craving that, I remember a specific student several years ago that struggled with behavior. He got in a lot of fights, and we were able to match him up with a mentor that came into the school every week to visit with him for half an hour, 45 minutes. And the mentor came to me after about, a month or so, and said, I don't think I'm getting through to him. I don't think that we're connecting. And I said, well, I'll kind of check on it and I was able to talk to the student without kind of letting the cat out of the bag. And it was completely the opposite. He looked forward to and his teacher said he looks forward to that time every week. And he always asked me, is today the day that Steve is coming? And so I was able to communicate that back, and that went on throughout the year. He was able to build a relationship with that student, and I now see that student in junior high school, and he still has a few issues here and there, but nothing like what he had when he was in second or third grade. And so it's been great to kind of see that progress, and that mentor was a big part of that maturing process.
Yeah, that's great. So, I mean, you guys have had mentors before, clearly, but the pandemic really
kind of put
shut that down. I mean, any progress you had. Because I remember even last year you said your resource officer AJ, was like, it kind of all fell on his shoulders to be the community representative during. Yeah,
he kind of was our person at all the good citizens. We had the same kind. He would talk about each trade. So,
so moving forward, I mean, obviously things can change at any time, but what does it look like to be a mentor? How could you get involved? I mean, this is clearly something you guys are passionate about and need. I mean, to support teachers, support parents, support kids. I mean, because it kind of just relieves some pressure from all other areas, right? So how can they get involved with mentoring? Anybody who's interested?
Well, they can get a volunteer form, and we just fill it out, and we do some checks, and we send it over and get it approved by the board, and we can start setting up something with them with the child, and it's pretty easy, really. And one way to get started too is maybe to attend some of our little climber meetings.
And when do those happen?
Those happen on one Tuesday every month. Usually the next one is like April 12th, so it's usually the first Tuesday of the month. But the next one is April 12th, and I can't remember what the other days are.
And then you have one in May.
And then we have one in May.
And then there's like a lunch at the end of
then
May. They're
going to do a little luncheon at the end. I believe that's on May 20th. They're planning a little luncheon. So
there's an opportunity right now to get it plugged in with the student for the next 2 months.
Right.
And really 3 times that they could be a positive role model.
It's kind of an informal way to maybe get to know the students and see if you kind of connect with one that maybe you'd like to mentor. And
that's awesome.
And then when you do mentor, we will give you some activities to do with the students. So when you come in, we'll give you some games to play and things that will help you kind of get to know the student, and we can kind of coach you on if you're uncomfortable with, like, how do I get to know them, we can give you some questions on that to ask and things to do to kind of help establish that relationship.
That's awesome. Yeah, because, I mean, I think there are people out there who feel that tug. Let's say, I can give of my time, but what would I ever say or do? And really, to your point about your other story of that young man, the mentor thought nothing was happening, and really just being a present adult.
That consistent, in this case, it was kind of a male role model that was missing in the child's life, and just the fact that he showed up every week and showed interest in him.
Right.
How's your week going? What are you working on? And the students can bring, work with them. That's things that they need help with. The mentors can help with that as well too.
Yeah, and I think obviously this is during school hours, so not everybody can do that. But maybe if you're newly retired or in that kind of that maybe you're a stay-at-home parent and you can finagle some time, that would be a great opportunity to get involved. We hope to raise these shoes and clothes by Easter. Obviously I think you'll take them after Easter as well, but that's that's kind of the goal. And and we've invited some other churches. So if you're watching today and you're encouraged by this, there's an opportunity to donate funds we'll eventually go shopping for new shoes, or donate shoes to the school themselves, gently used or new, and in clothing as well. And we'll put the slide up of the actual sizes and whatnot. But so we just really appreciate you guys sitting down with us and sharing about this.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and the support. Those headphones that you guys provided for us. I don't know how many pairs, but
it was an unbelievable amount. We had every one of those cabinets
We've
filled.
used them all.
We did.
In the last week, we
got rid of the last couple.
The last few have been used.
Well, that was, I think, something else that having that conversation last year is like, it's not people don't care about schools. I just think that there's certain times we care about schools and certain times we forget about it.
Yeah.
We remember schools when we're going back to school.
Right.
And then there's this once you get to this December, January period and you're in the home stretch of the end of the year, your closets become empty.
Yeah.
Resources are kind of diminishing or whatever it is that you've provided. Yeah. And it's like there's more times than just back to school that the school could use outside support.
Yeah.
And I think that was eye-opening to me, hearing that. And so, because there are lots of people who love supporting the schools, and lots of churches and backpack supplies and all kinds of things. But it kind of always happens at the beginning. It's like it's a long school year.
Yeah, it is.
So, if you're interested, sign up you can get a hold of us on our Facebook or YouTube. And again, thank you, Melanie and Christopher, for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
And hopefully you're motivated to get involved with this initiative. And we will see you soon.